Did you ever have a sack lunch back when you were in grade school? Well, today, friends, we're going to be eating very, very well with what I got right here. Hey there, Vince here, and welcome to yet another Circuit Rewind. So in September of last year, I upgraded my 1993 Street Fighter II arcade cabinet to have a brand new audio system where I put in brand new speakers, it has a separate amplifier, and I recently published a video on that. And the whole thing with that, that I'm getting to now, is that I promised myself I would not work on the next arcade project until I published that video. So now that that video is live, I can now work on the next arcade project, even though it's been several months. So that was in September, right? But in August, my friend Albert and I went and toured Japan together. And for those that don't know, Albert goes by the online handle of Goon PNW. PNW being the Pacific Northwest. He's known in the PNW FGC, or the fighting game community, because he's really good at DBZ and a few other fighting games. Who knows what the hell he's playing these days. Anyway, while in Japan, he knew I wanted specifically to upgrade parts of my arcade cabinet. So he found this amazing store called Mach in Akihabara, one of the places that, obviously, us being hardcore nerds, we spent quite a bit of time in that neighborhood going around shopping and seeing all the different sites and stores. So while there, I kind of picked up a few things. So we have 6 clear buttons that are white. Let's see, where's the counterparts to those? 6 clear buttons, but they're black. We have a blue and a purple button. A pair of sticks. And some ball tops for the sticks. So I've been alluding to having an upgrade project for this arcade cabinet for several months now, and this is the first time I'm pulling these out of the bag since they came back here from Japan back in August. When I got my arcade cabinet, to say it was beat up is an understatement. It's needed a lot of love, and I noticed how some of the switches for some of the buttons have been replaced over time, and even with that, some of the older and newer switches were just flat out faulty. So I'm like, all right, I just need to fresh clean slate. Let's rip out every button, let's rip out the sticks, let's put brand new things into it. The only problem is that honestly, like, as much as I am knowledgeable about tech and PCs and everything else like that, I actually don't know that much about the actual mechanical buttons for arcade systems, arcade cabinets, or fight sticks that people, portable fight sticks people use at tournaments. Naturally, I could have ordered all this stuff online. Like, these parts are available online. Honestly, I can't tell you what brand these are. I don't remember. But having Albert there with me, he's quite knowledgeable in this hardware. And at Mach, they had all the buttons and sticks and everything like that out publicly available that you could play with them. And so basically, he and I went through a lot of different buttons and sticks, and he was evaluating the quality based on his brand knowledge and everything like that, and I was evaluating what I liked from a tactile standpoint. And we found a set of buttons and sticks that I think will work really, really well in this arcade cabinet. And now I get to go tear that thing apart, because it's actually only like 5 feet off screen. It's right there. So that's going to be the next thing, but it's not just as simple as just wiring this thing up, though, because of the fact that, like, the other reason this project has been delayed is that I'm designing a custom PCB, and sadly, this PCB only has half of the features working on it right now, so there will be another revision of it. So for the time being, I'm not publishing the file until I get those revisions fixed. But for now, the whole idea is that I don't actually like JAMA harnesses. They're just a pain where you have, like, just that fat connector with wires going everywhere, right? So instead, I have a JAMA breakout board that I designed. And instead of using the JAMA harness at all, I've mentioned before that I have an 8-way JAMA switcher, which has a 40-pin ribbon cable that comes off of it. So let's just use the 40-pin ribbon cable and then build a breakout board that has smaller individual wires that come off of it to each of the different components. And so now we're going to go and put one of those in here and getting it wired up. All right, first thing here is I need to open up this control panel so I can actually get to the insides of the buttons to take the old ones out. So just got to reach in here and blindly find some latches. That's one, and I don't remember how many there are. That's two, that's three. And let's just slowly get this thing open. All right. And it's still really dusty from when I did this before. Oh, and I had my PCB sitting here. Maybe I should have taken those out first. All right, so as we can see here, this is the mess of a JAMA harness, at least the button side of it. So while yes, there are some disconnects here, it's still like zip tied down and it's an ugly mess and I don't like it. I have a much, much better and modular idea in mind for what I want to do with mine. Let's start just ripping these wires out because none of these wires are going to be used anymore, so it doesn't even matter what's what. And I think I might need like a wrench or something to get inside of here and actually get these unscrewed. Maybe? Do these want to come out? There we go. Get that out and... All right. Player 2. One down, lots to go. Player 1. This thing's dirty. I'm going to give this whole thing a bath while I have it apart too. The hell, they literally soldered, even though they're using these quick release things, they literally soldered some of these wires together. Take that off. There's another soldered wire. Because I guess crimping wires was too hard for them. Wow, look how many soldered wires there are. Like they just gave up and swapped from one system to another. I just realized I don't actually know how these other buttons mount in here. That's going to be fun. These are stuck in here good. Holy crap. Well, camera battery died while I was working on side 1. So let's start working on side 2 or player 2, and you get to see parts of that. All right, for these joysticks, there's a small little peg in here that you have to get to, which is spring-loaded, which sucks. So, come on, let me in there. Just have to get this little thing out of here, this little metal clip. Come on, you. There we go. And that happens! I can't get to that one yet. I'm going to have to take the buttons out first. Let's see if player 2 cooperates more than player 1 did. Oh, that's loose. Yep, that one's loose. And like that, All the buttons and the 2 sticks are removed. Cool. All right, let's get some cleaning going on here. Yeah, let's get the brightness fixed. That is nasty. Whoops. I guess that was kind of holding this up. I guess I can take that down now and I'll get that cleaned up. The joys of working on arcade cabs. Yeah. Okay, so this turned out to be a much larger project than I was expecting. The buttons don't quite fit. The sticks are a completely different mounting system, so I had to create a mounting system for the sticks, but before I can do that, I got to get the buttons in place. And these holes are about 1 to 2 millimeters too short, so let's get to it. Fresh metal smell. I love it. All right, let's do a fitment test. Let's see how many of these. First off, let's get the circuit breaker turned off. Let's see how many of these buttons will actually fit now. So I know the first one will. Yeah, that one seems to be sliding nice. That one's sliding nice. That's sliding nice. That one's too tight. That one's a little tight. All right, so these last two I gotta dig into just a little bit more. So let's get the safety gear back on and get that circuit turned back on and start chopping. You know, I was expecting this to be an easy operation compared to the speakers, but I think this is getting to be more complicated. Seems to be sliding well now. That one's definitely sliding. All right, cool. So now, at least this side, I can clean up and mount, and then I got to do the one-player side. So I'm going to do that off camera and then start getting this assembled. All right, let's start getting some buttons installed, and then I'll worry about the sticks afterwards, since I have to do a lot of custom building to make the sticks work. So I'm going to start off. Now that I've tested each hole, I did a loose fit. I didn't quite push the buttons in all the way, but I did a loose fit on every single hole, and everything seems to work now. And also, I beveled out each of the holes when I was doing the grinding. They're smoother now, and I also did that to take off all of the rust. So I went on the extra, the 2 big holes for the sticks. They didn't need it because they're already big enough, but I did that just to clean it up so like whatever rust or corrosion was there is removed. So let's see. Let's make a purple player 1 start. And hear those nice and click into place. Yeah, there we go. And then blue is going to be a player 2 start. Come on, you are not in all the way. Come on, there you go. And just oh man, that looks nice. Holy crap, I'm so happy with that. I'm going to use the black buttons for player 1 and then the white buttons for player 2. Is that in? That is. It's hard to get the buttons in all the way. Maybe I do need to drill these out just a little bit more. There we go. Get that. Ooh, that one went in super smooth. Like it. Yeah, that's how they're supposed to be. Come on, you just a little bit further. Please. Please. So when I did the fitment test, I didn't push the buttons all the way in. I did it most of the way, and it's just that last little click where these things are having a little bit of struggle. So I'm probably gonna have to lift up the panel and check out their positioning from the front side and push down the edges just a little bit more. Because it's just that one button. There we go. I think you're in all the way now. But yeah, you can see there. And maybe at some point I'll put some LEDs behind these, but for now they're not light up, but still like that, just they feel nice, they look nice. And then having like the colored start buttons, I love that. And then I'm gonna have the colored sticks as well. And of course I dropped all the washers I was working on, that's great. All right, and then to do the same on the player 2 side. That was not a good sound. This hole needs to be drilled out further, I think. So this is the issue I was initially having, is if the hole compresses down on the button too much, the button will not, the spring on the button stops working. So there's a little bit too much side pressure on that button there. I think this one might be a little bit too tight as well. So I have a feeling on this side I may have to go through and redo and Dremel out some of these holes just a little bit further. That one's in place. Because yeah, these two buttons right here are a little bit tight. But yeah, okay, those buttons are all moving as they should. But that button's not in all the way. There we go. Yeah, those are now in all the way. Let's get this one. Yeah, that one's tight. Yeah, I think I have to go through and Dremel down these ones just a little bit more. This panel is fighting me a bit. Yeah, all right, so I'm gonna pull some of these out, which is a pain in the ass. Go grab the Dremel these out a little bit more, then put them in, and I'm gonna do that off camera. All right, so next up, the sticks, the mounting system for the sticks are entirely different between the old ones and the new ones. So if we look here, this is kind of like a rectangle, and this is more, it's still a rectangle, but it's almost a square. But as you can see, they just do not line up at all. So I fashioned my own mounting system. I've already test fit this one. This one works. And so I'm going to reproduce it over here if I can remember how I did this. Because I don't have the parts that I want to do this. I'm just grabbing whatever the hell I have on hand. I have these L brackets, which are actually kind of a pain because of the fact that like I don't need the top side. I just need basically an oval bracket. And I'm going to try to fashion this together now. So I put a screw in, I put the bracket in, and then because of the way this sits, I'm using 3 washers because that hole is so small. So I'm doing them in the reverse order. So big washer, middle washer, little washer, and then I put a nut on top. And then I use a screwdriver to kind of get that tightened down in there. And then to get it nice and tight, hold the nut, rotate the screw, and that's one. And now I'm going to quickly do the rest. All right, now I've got 2 of these. Let's go put them in the cab. So because I added those screws, the sticks actually sit recessed in a bit, and to do this mounting, I need a pair of washers on each of these. I'm glad I have a lot of this stuff on hand. That's basically been the theme of this. It's like, what can I build out of what I have on hand rather than having to order or custom engineer something? And let's take this, put it in this way specifically because I want the pins for the electronics facing me, which is going to be fun because I didn't realize until I was installing these that it's a 5-pin, not an 8-pin, which means it has a single common ground connection. So I need to figure out what pin that is. All right, so I'm just going to loosely put some nuts on the bolts here, which I only have the 4 for this one, so I have to go dig around my trash now to figure out where the other 4 went. And the reason we put those washers in there, like I said, because the screw heads from the brass screws, with these, I can actually tighten it down more now and not put the pressure on the brass screws. Instead, the pressure is going to go directly onto these washers when I get these things nice and super tight. Oh, that is bumping up against stuff. That is not sitting correctly. I might have to take that apart and do some of that again. I see why that's sitting up. So the washers are slightly out of place because I think the piece of metal from the actual unit is kind of resting on the washers, maybe. So I might need to swap which washers I'm using then. Huh. This might be about as far as I get today. And we're gonna have to come back to this tomorrow because I haven't even gotten to wiring yet. And this is being a pain in the butt. And it's getting late. Welcome to day 2 of what was supposed to be a quick and simple afternoon project. So I've done a bit of work off camera. Player 1, the stick is now mounted. Player 2, I still have the jank from yesterday that I need to undo, so that's what I'm going to start with. And it turns out, I actually own a socket set that I wasn't using. I don't know why. Sometimes I overthink things. So I'm going to pull out all of these washers. And instead of 2 washers in each column, I'm going to have 3 smaller washers in each. How do you completely deplete a collection of washers very, very fast? You make jank projects like this. The plug on the wrong side. Anyway, let's get that on there. And that sits so much nicer now. All right. And just like that, we have nice and secured sticks in here, and all of the buttons are nicely mounted. We are making good progress, and that was only been a couple minutes since I started today. Nice. And then at this point, I actually dropped one of the pieces inside the arcade cab, which I knew I was going to do by leaving it up here. So I have to go tear this thing apart to get that one little piece, and then I can mount the ball tops on top of these. So I will be right back. All right, so let's get the other part of these sticks put together before I start figuring out the wiring. Let's get this lifted up. Actually, let's go as far as latching this temporarily. I'll just get the one latch in there. So I'm going to place discs inside of these, discs inside of these. We have our old cover discs. These are the ones that the previous joysticks used, so I'm going to reuse those. There are the center pieces, which goes through all of that. And then we have some bolt toppers. And I will get to the bottom on the underside to be able to tighten these down, because otherwise they're just going to free spin. But right now, that Looks and feels awesome. Hell yeah. So I'm gonna unlatch this again. On the backside of each of these sticks, they have like a flathead insert, so I can just basically rotate and get the bolt nice and tight. And just like that, they're on there, nice and good. Yeah, everything is feeling super nice now. Well, because everything is jank, now that we're getting to the wiring, I have these little connectors here, and they're a little bit too tight to actually go on the back of the buttons for wiring them up. So I need to open up every single one of these and like just slightly pry them open to make them a little bit looser so they fit on those connectors. Otherwise, I'm going to destroy those buttons plugging these in. So I have to destroy my hands instead to do this. So I'm going to get back to it. I've already done a few here, but here we go. Ooh, that works so much better. Yeah, let's just do this. All right, that should be all the player buttons now, and then I just need to do start and select, so 4 more of these. Not player 1 start, player 2 start, what am I saying? Gotta watch it there. Gonna take out a finger. Ooh, that one just completely split. That's not good. I'll just toss that one entirely. Whatever. Of course, it's the very last one that's gonna give me hell, isn't it? All right, there we go. That should be enough for all the buttons. Let's verify that. So that's 3, 6, so that's 1 row of buttons. 3, 6. All right, so that's player 1. Let's go 3, 6, that's 1 row. 3, 6, so that's player 2. And then we have P1 start, P2 start. So that should be all of the connectors that we need. The next thing though, is I need the wires to go into them. So I will be right back because I don't have those in reach. And now the magic I haven't told you about yet, but I need wire, right? Well, I have wire here. Let's pull out a nice good chunk. I'll just cut it from the box. Does this look familiar at all? Cat5e UTP 24AWG. It turns out that copper wire is actually copper wire. Did you know that? And you don't actually have to use it for its original intended purpose. So if I just, take a good chunk of it here and just, hey, look at that. I have a bunch of copper wire. And let's cut off the tensioner. I don't care about that. And wouldn't you know, all of these are nice and paired already. So if I just undo a little bit of a pairing, let's take orange here. I conveniently have 2 wires, right? Let's get these other ones out of the way. So let's strip these down a bit. And then what I do specifically with clamps like this is I'll actually take this, so let's strip that down a little bit further. And then I will take this, bend it in on itself, make it a little bit thicker. And then let's get our piece set up in the clamp here, or the crimp tool. I kind of get this preset. Get that to where you're just barely in there. All right, cool. feed the wire through till it's at its where it should be. And just like that, we have one of our button connectors. And now I get to do that again a whole bunch of times. So let's get this aligned, feed it through, and bam. So you saw how nasty that JAMA harness was with just wire everywhere, right? This is a hell of a lot cleaner. And even still, like now that those are crimped together, I can retwist them. And these two are just gonna plug in ever so nicely right into the back of a button. And yeah, I know my exposure is a little bit wonky with this right now. It's kind of hard to cut wire and manage a camera at the same time, but I mean, you kind of get the idea. So now I'm going to do this for all of these, and then I will show you what I'm going to do for the other end afterwards on how this is actually going to connect into the rest of the system. And for now, I'm just going to fast forward this so you can see me do a whole bunch of these really, really quick, even though it's going to take me a while. All right, and just like that, I have 8 crimps on this, and then all those wires will stay nice and tightly bundled together going into the rest of the arcade cab, so we're not gonna have that spaghetti mess anymore. That's one down. I've got 3 more of these to make now, so I will cut forward and save you the horrors of having to do that on camera. More like save me the horrors. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do here is I'm going to take one of my wires and I'm just going to slide one of these boots onto it. And maybe from that description alone, you can kind of get an idea of what I might be doing next. So let's strip off a chunk of the outer wire, or the outer sheath of the wire. Let's then get rid of the tensioner, because I don't care about that. Just cut that off like so. And now I have 4 pairs, four different buttons. So let's get these unwound. And now comes the part where I'm gonna upset a lot of people on the internet. Let's go white, orange, orange, white, green, green, white, blue, blue, and then white, brown, brown. Please leave me a comment letting me know how wrong I am. Once I get these straight enough, I'm going to give myself a nice clean cut edge here. And then let's grab the network head, an RJ45 head, push it all the way through. Going to kind of twist these out of the way, grab the crimp tool here, shove the cable through like so. Come on. That's the whole reason I twisted those is so you can go through. Get that all the way through, please. And then with the cable through, when I crimp down, hey, look at that. It's hard to tell because I'm trying to do this in such an angle that the camera might be able to see it instead of me, so I might screw up a little bit. Anyway, let's slide the boot back on. And the board that this is going to plug into, the way it was wired, is basically button ground, button ground, button ground, button ground. Normal networking is actually designed to be backwards compatible with phone systems. That's why the 2 center wires are paired and then the 2 wires next to it. There's not going to be anything else that this plugs into, so I'm not going to need to worry about any sort of compatibility with anything else. This is my own standard for me, by me. Screw you guys, I'm going home. All right, for the sake of this video though, this is my prototype board that's actually going to go into the arcade cabinet today just for testing. This one's kind of been beat up and mangled up because this is what I'm using literally for prototyping the system. I've already found some problems with this one where I need to make a second revision of this board. But either way, this should have enough to at least test a single player because I don't want to solder up another board right now, basically. You see, I like fresh air when I'm soldering so I don't choke on fumes, and it's a little bit too cold outside to open the windows right now, so I'm gonna make do with what I got, and then the plan was to swap the board anyway once I have the version 2 of this board that has all the issues fixed with it. But as you can see here, this is the 40-pin ribbon cable that will come in from the JAMA switcher, and then there's traces that go to these 6 connectors here, and as you can see, these will slot straight into that. That is so much cleaner than dealing with a freaking JAMA harness, isn't it? And then, like I said, this is just a normal 40-pin ribbon cable, similar to like an old IDE cable, that will go between here and that's all the cabling for the whole system, basically. Eventually, another idea with this is that we have our red, green, blue sync, so I'm actually going to redo the plugs for the monitor, the CRT, to plug into here. And then we have left and right audio over here to go into the audio hardware that I showed off last time. This is going to break out just about everything for the whole arcade cab all in one board. Plus, I already have an earlier generation from these other PCBs, SNES adapters, and now the SNES adapters are going to live directly on this board. And the idea is that instead of being on this side of the board, the final version will actually have it on the opposite side of the board, and then I'm actually going to have this board mounted to the front of the arcade cabinet on the inside with cutouts for the SNES connectors. And these SNES connectors are going to go through an RP2040 to interface with the rest of the board. It's just the RP2040 interface is kind of what I broke. And with my design, I used the wrong logic level shifter chip. So I need to completely redesign that part of the circuit, but that's for a future video. Anyway, I'm going to get this plugged in to see if I can at least get a few wires working. The other issue I'm running into right now, as I alluded to before, the joysticks are a 5-wire interface, so they have a shared ground, and this was not designed for that either. So I'm working on ideas currently to see how I can deal with that, but at least currently I can test buttons, which is enough to get started. So I'm going to hop over there and get to that. Okay, I'm going to record what I'm doing best I can with this very half-assed wiring setup. The wires are just dangling inside of the arcade cab right now, and I have my bundles here, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is, let's say we take the 2 blue wires. As you can see, the bottom middle lights up. If I do orange, that is the coin. The green, well, coin I'm not going to worry about right now. So the green is bottom left, and the brown should be bottom right. So now, with that knowledge in mind, let's go down here to where the jank is. All right, so the green is the bottom left, as I said. So that means this is the bottom row and the one furthest on the left. I think I made the holes just a little bit too large on these, so I'm going to crimp them down just a little bit, just to make that a little bit nicer. There we go. Make you just a little bit tighter. There we go. That works beautifully. And now to do this with a few more buttons, but like I said, I only have player 1 available, and I don't have the stick yet. So I'll do what I can. All right, well, I've got the first 3 buttons wired up. Now I'm going to repeat this process with the next one. So it should in theory be the same order. So the green is now the top left. Almost like I built an order into this system. Yeah, it's making solid connection. Anyway, if you notice, something that I did is that I actually stripped these back pretty far, and the reason for it is because this actually needs to reach over here and come to the player 1 start button. That's what the orange wire is on this set. The coin button, I'm not sure how I want to handle that one yet, so we'll worry about that later. All right, so I'm going to flip the panel up here and kind of hold it in place. I can actually pre-wire the other side even though I can't plug in those the cables into the board yet because they're just RJ45s, and I can take that board out once I get the new board, put the new board in, and it'll just be a simple swap and I don't have to think about any of this wiring. All right, so right now I only have basically the 6 buttons and the start button hooked up. That's it, just these 7. Nothing on player 2 because I don't have that wired on the board, and there's no sticks wired up yet. But I still have my other adapter plugged in, so I can do the D-pad on this NES controller. Let's go for some jank and see how all this works. All right, let's begin. So, let's see how bad I can play like this. God, I love these buttons. I can't wait until the sticks work. By the way, I never actually claimed to be good at Street Fighter. I know the basics, and that's about it. Hey, but I can do a double half or a double quarter on a D-pad with my thumb. No, I can't do the D-pad well enough with my thumb in that weird position to do a super again. That was just pure luck the first time. Anyway, I suck at this, but there was never once a dropped input. I can say that for sure. Like, anytime something looked wrong or like a special wasn't going off, that was me, and I know that was me, especially with this D-pad, trying to do it at such an awkward angle, because holding a controller one-handed is actually hard. Every input is coming through perfect. This is working great. I just got to get everything else wired up now. All right, we're on day 3 now of my supposedly afternoon project. What I've gone ahead and done off camera is I've assembled another one of these PCBs, but this one only has just the breakout for the control board, nothing else on it. So I need to get this installed now. I'm still just going to have it sitting loose, and I'm going to get it mounted later. But first things first. There we go. Let's get this opened up here. I might have to reverse the player 1 and player 2 side on the PCB because they are backwards apparently from the way they actually wire up into where the board position is. So the next thing I have here is my multimeter in continuity mode. So as I press the leads together, you might be able to hear a beep sound there. And the reason I'm doing this is because I actually don't know the wiring of these sticks. Okay, so chances are this outer one is going to be the ground connection. Yeah, so this outer pin here has a connection on all 4. That's going to be the ground. So I have that in a location where it'll be fine by itself. So now I can test each of these. That's down, that's up, that's right, and that's left. So I'm going to find a piece of paper so I can write this down because I'm not going to remember it. Next up, I need to figure out which color goes to which direction on the sticks. So that way I can start making the custom cable for it. So let's start off. Looks like blue is left, brown is right, orange is up, and that means green is down. Cool. With all that, I can start making a new cable. Well, one thing I can say while working on this project is realizing that I own way too damn many tools without even realizing it. So the next process is I need to build the wires for the sticks. So I've already gone ahead and cut my length of wire, and I've already put the RJ45 end on it. You've already seen that process. So now let's start working on the other piece. So unlike before, we're only using 5 wires this time because remember, each of these pairs, these striped wires are grounds. They're all literally the same connection. So the sticks only use a single ground connection rather than individual grounds per thing, which is perfectly fine. So what we need are the 4 solid wires, and any one of the grounds will work for this. So I'm going to get myself 5 wires here. And How long did I need? Yeah, I need about normal length. And so those are the 4 solids. Now let's get 1 ground wire. And I'll come back to the other 3 ground wires here in a bit. So this is the part that I hate, is I have these connectors here, and I hate crimping these things. I'm terrible at it, and you're probably going to tell me I'm doing it wrong, and I probably am doing it wrong. So first off, each of the connectors on the inside comes on these metal reels, so you have to like work it back and forth to rip them off. Come on, normally you don't take this much effort. Please, come off, thank you. That's 1, 2, somewhere is 3, there you are. 4, and number 5. All right, cool. So I'm gonna get the wire just a little bit shorter from where I stripped it. And then take one of these. And the thing is, like, it likes to move around a lot in the crimping tool. So I pinch it down a little bit first before I put it in there. And then I take the crimp tool. Yes, a different crimp tool than last time, because I own way too many tools. Let's try to get this aligned properly this time, because I kind of suck at this. And we have it crimped. Now to do that a bunch more times. All right, so we've got those 5 crimped. Before I put them into the socket, I want to get these other ones crimped though. And I'm going to do those a little bit differently. So I'm going to start by stripping them just like before. And these ones I'm going to strip out larger. And then I'm going to bend them in half. And again, like these 3 wires that I'm doing this to, they're all grounds. They're all the same connection. In hindsight, I probably could have designed this better now that I know how the sticks are wired. All right, so I'm going to use, the camera will focus, probably not, but basically little circle terminals. And these are going to go on the screw posts that we used for the sticks. So that way we can have that whole metal plate the sticks are screwed into grounded. And these things require an act of God to actually crimp. These specific red ones require the full force of both of my hands to be able to crimp, and holy crap does it hurt. And you'd not believe how many of these I've done for my entertainment center to wire up the 12-volt system for all of my game consoles. All right, crimping's done. I think with everything for the whole arcade cab now. So next up, let's get those grounds off to the side. We don't care about those. I only care about wiring up this 5-pin header now. So based on the beep codes that I was doing earlier, the ground goes all the way on the right. And then we have green. It's not going in all the way. There you are, yeah, there, good. And then we have brown, no, orange. Orange is next. And then brown. And then blue. So I didn't realize this until I was actually writing the piece of paper. So we have left and right. And I always write in these color coordination systems, blue is BL, brown is BR. And it just so happens that BL is left and BR is right. How did I accidentally get that correct? That's kind of awesome. Okay, as you can see, I've already actually gotten the player 1 side wired up earlier off camera. I still need to redo the screw terminal for this, but now I'm going to work on the player 2 side. With the stick here, now that we have this adapter, it is as simple as going here and just sliding this in. And voila, the stick's plugged in. That simple. The whole idea with the setup is to have a completely modular setup. So that should make this a hell of a lot easier going forward. And now, like I said, with these 3 rings here, they're going to slide onto the post because this entire thing is a ground connection. Since this is a metal plate, the whole metal plate is grounded. And on both of these, they're going to be screwed directly into this, so that way we have a nice solid ground field for everything, for return signals or whatever they need to be used for. All right, so other than these loose coin wires and then screwing down those terminals, this thing does actually work now completely. So I'm just going to loosely, slowly bring this up, lock just one of the locks in place. Come on, where are you at? There you are. And I'm going to bring the camera up so you can see what's going on now. All right, so I'm on the test screen here, and as you can see, I can move that in all directions. I can move this one in all directions. Got start, start. So both of those are working as expected. Those are perfect. Yeah, that is working perfect. So I've gone and done some wire management here to make this a little bit cleaner and neater inside. And as you can see, like, I actually wrote down the pin order for the sticks for whenever I have to do maintenance in the future. But look how nice and clean that is now compared to the mess that it was before. And then we have just this nice clean bundle going inside. And yes, you can see there's a little bit mess inside. I'm probably going to cut these cables down like maybe a couple feet off of them once I get the breakout board fully figured out. But for now, this is looking much, much nicer. All right, I don't have the panel back on, so I'm only going to do the one latch for now, but I'm sure you're dying to see this mostly fully complete. So let's get under here again. And this time, I'm going to do all of the menuing directly from here. Oh yeah, that's right. The way that my debug interface works is it actually holds down the test button, so let's get that turned off. And now let's go. Ooh, Goki right off the bat. Oh, he dogged me. Don't ask me to do any combos because I don't know crap about combos in this game. I'm a novice. I just like to have fun. Really? So yeah, as you can see, it's otherwise working freaking great. I am loving this. Sorry if the picture looks like crap because always, you know, photographing a CRT sucks, but yeah, there you go. This meeting could have been an email, right? That's kind of what I thought with this. I was not expecting this to take 3 days to get all the wiring put together and get the control panel working, but here we are. And it's working beautifully now. Like, I am more than happy with the results. I love the sound of the buttons. I love the way the sticks look. And yes, I keep looking. It's literally like two feet out of frame. The arcade cab is right there. A couple points to go over. You may be wondering why I was using Street Fighter Alpha 3 or 03, yeah, because it's a Japanese one, for testing rather than Street Fighter 2. And that's mainly just because the control debug interface is much cleaner looking, a lot easier to read on that one, because on the Street Fighter 2 one, it just has every button in a row, and especially like dealing with the stick, it just shows the 4 cardinal directions, and it's hard to tell which direction you're using. It just shows the 1 or 0. Versus with this one, if you move the stick to the corner, it will actually show that it's in the corner rather than just lighting up 2 buttons. It says, hey, no, it's actually all the way up in the corner, and it treats it as an 8 positional item rather than 4 individual buttons. So it's a lot easier to read. Plus the 6 main input buttons, they're laid out on the screen like they are on the control panel, so it's easier to match up which button goes where. I purchased this arcade cab 2 years ago knowing that it was beat up and it needed some work, and that it would be a long-term project for me. And especially testing 03 there, I noticed a problem with it. The audio output, I was only getting left channel audio, no right channel audio, and it turned out that that issue is coming from the CPS2 motherboard that 03 is plugged into right now. I tested all the wiring, I tested other games, like stereo audio is coming out of other games, so my whole audio setup that I did in the previous video, all of that's working beautifully. So now I need to pull out that CPS2 motherboard and figure out why I'm only getting 1 channel audio. And yes, I went into the configuration, make sure that it was set to Q sound and not mono. Beyond that though, I mean, it took many, many months to get this done. Sorry, Albert, it took forever. I know you kept bugging me about it, but it's done, it's glorious, I love it. And I know you've already seen the results, at least online, so I can't wait for you to come over and try it out yourself. And for any of my other friends, yeah, you're all gonna love this thing. But yeah, this arcade cab is a long-term project, and I have several more planned for it, so subscribe to the channel, and there will be a couple more videos coming out this year about other really cool upgrades I want to do with it. But beyond that, that's all I got for today, so until next time, later y'all!